West Texas rancher had a coming out party for his 21-year-old daughter. So he invited 100 of the best, most eligible bachelors from around the state to his house, to his ranch, where he had 10,000 acres, thousands and thousands of heads of cattle, a bunch of oil wells, and an Olympic-sized swimming pool that he had the foresight to fill up with crocodiles, alligators, and water moccasins. And at some point during the night, he lined up all these young guys at one end of the pool, and he said, okay, the first one of you guys that can swim this pool with all this alligators, crocodiles, and water moccasins in it gets a choice between these three things. You can have $1 million cash. You can have 100 acres of my best land. Or you can have the hand of my lovely daughter, which she is the lone, and she'll receive all, she's my only kid, so she'll get all the inheritance anyway. And no sooner did he say all that he hear a splash at one end of the pool, and instantaneously this cowboy jumps out of the other end of the pool dripping wet, and the rancher ran over to him and said, son, that was amazing. You just set a world record. Do you want $1 million cash? And he said, nope. Well, you must want 100 acres of my best land. And he said, nope. Well, you are wisely choosing my daughter then. He goes, nope. Well, son, what do you want? And the cowboy looked down at the other cowboys and he said, I want to know the name of that dude that pushed me into the pool. And the moral of that little fable is he was motivated by fear. How many of you know that when you are scared, you will move really fast? I like to think of a bear running through here and what I would do, how fast I would move, or how fast I would grab my kid and get him out of the way. I think of disease, diagnosis, and medication like a scary animal like that, so that I'm always doing what I can to stay away from them. People ask me all the time, how do you stay so motivated to be healthy and do the right things and always get better and better? Because I'm not perfect. And that's one way, is through fear motivation. Another way is through a more positive thing, and that's through thinking about my kid. If you're a parent, you know what I mean. If you're a grandparent, you know what I mean. If you don't have kids, I hope you get that pleasure one day. She's 6 years old right now, and everything is a first. She had her first basketball game yesterday. She scored her first goal on Saturday. She had her first day of first grade this year. She'll be driving. She'll have her first day of being 16 one day and driving. She'll have her first day in college. Whatever her firsts are, I'm looking forward to all those. And last week, I saw a story about a girl who wrote about her daddy who had died when he was 53 years old, and she was 16. And he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when she was 15. So before he died, he arranged to have flowers sent to her every year on her birthday. So when she was 17, she got her first birthday flowers. So he died, I guess, when she was 16 years old. So at 17, she got her first annual flowers from her daddy, who was dead, and in 18, 19, 20, and 21 years old. So it was her 21st birthday this year, and she was saying how I'm going to miss getting those flowers from my daddy every year on my birthday. And it really got me. I mean, the warm nature, the loving just gesture of the flowers on her birthday, on one hand was really sweet. And then the other hand, he died of pancreatic cancer, which is completely avoidable and preventable. And so it got me on both fronts. It got me with the fear factor of the pancreatic cancer, and it got me on the I'll do anything for my daughter emotion factor. Man, I found myself crying watching this thing because, I'm not perfect and I've never pretended to be perfect. Raise your hand if you're with me on this. I like wine and beer. Now, I don't have, a six-pack every night or anything like that, thankfully. Although, if you look at me when I was in my 20s, I'm sure I did close to that because I was invincible back then. But you turn me loose with those things or on my own devices, and I'm going to be eating pizza and beer all the time. So I use these type of things, this fear and these loving emotions, to really drive myself and stay fanatical about getting healthy. And when I saw this story about this girl who was getting her last set of flowers from her daddy, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 46 years old at the time of this video. I'm not going to be, there's no way I'm going to be that 53-year-old guy dying of pancreatic cancer because of something I'm doing right now. And last week when I read that story, I stepped my game up even more. I worked out a little harder. I worked out a little differently. I managed my time a little more. I wake up and I take the day on better. I'm planning out what we're going to eat and how we're going to eat. And if I'm going to have any alcohol at all, it's definitely spaced out. It's on the weekend or something like this. I just started thinking in those terms, all wrapped around the motion of not killing myself today. Maybe I'm dying, 8 years from now or whatever, because of something I'm doing today. And some of y'all really need to hear that message. You need to understand what it is I'm telling you. And scare yourself. You need to do this. If a disease is going to happen because of something you're doing today, my goodness, why would you wait for that disease to really get motivated? Why would I do that to my daughter and leave her when I'm 53 years old and she's 16? Goodness gracious, no way, no thank you. So I'm changing today. Take a look in the mirror. Look at your life. I can't motivate you. You watch some of these gurus on YouTube and everything else, and that's fine. Give yourself good input. But ultimately, the motivation is going to come from within you. Just like all healing from all disease, it's all going to come from within you. So here's a really cool story. Your spine, did you know your spine affects your genetic expression? It does. It affects your genetic expression. And here's a great example. There was the Lapchick family out of Canada, and you can look this up, back in the late 60s, early 70s. And something happened to the baby when he was born, little Johnny. And by the time he was 2, they knew something was really bad wrong because he was all cramped up like this. And he had what everybody called cerebral palsy. And at 2 years old, the diagnosis started coming in, and the dad went to 50 different doctors because he did not like what they were all telling him. And every doctor said the same thing. Your kid's never going to tell you I love you, never going to walk or talk. Obviously, there's going to be spine surgeries because the spine was all, crooked like question marks. And you saw the everything laid out for them when he was 2 and 3 and 4 years old, and he never gave up. He was not going to accept the fact that there was nothing that could be done except drugs and surgery in an institution for the rest of this kid's life. And with that attitude, he kept looking and searching for an answer, and he found a doctor. So they were in Canada. They found a doctor in Chicago who was like the best natural specialist for things like cerebral palsy anywhere on the planet. So they called to make an appointment, and get this, they couldn't get in for like 6 months. And it was like a $500 non-refundable deposit back in the 70s just to make the appointment. That's how good this guy was. And the dad of little Johnny, David Lapchick, he said, listen, I'm in Canada, but I will have my kid there tomorrow if you ever get a cancellation. Well, the next week, a kid was flying in from Australia. Something happened with the flights. They had to cancel this appointment. And little Johnny Lapchick was in Chicago the next day meeting with this doctor. And the doctor said, unfortunately, he said the same thing that all these other doctors across Canada had said. Your kid is going to be an invalid. He'll never walk or talk or ride or tell you I love you if you listen to all the doctors of doom and gloom that are out there. He goes, I'm here to tell you there is always hope. What are you willing to do for your kid? That was what this doctor said to David Lapchick, the father of this kid with cerebral palsy. What are you willing to do for your kid? And I will tell you, if you don't have kids, when you have them, you will do absolutely anything. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. What if it will cost $10,000 a month? What if you have to build additions to your house? What if you have to do something for hours every day for your kid? Well, that's exactly what happened. They laid out this plan to help his spine and help his body get strong. So they literally built a gym on the side of their house. They hired a trainer to come in who spent hours and hours with him, a professional, like one of these bodybuilder type trainers, that really knew exactly how to build and stretch and build muscle and build healthy tissue. Got chiropractors, therapists, you name it, he brought him in, and it was all in all about $10,000 a month back in the 70s. And so that all started about 5 years old. At 8 years old, David Lopchik got a phone call at work, and it was the trainer, the head trainer. He said, it's time for y'all to come home and watch. And this is an emotional story. And you can imagine this moment. Put yourself here just for a second. Go there with me. Everybody comes home. The dad, the mom, brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, and there's 20 people in this room. And they watched little Johnny do a push-up. One push-up. And as the story was told, they said it took him minutes just to get down into that position. And it took him minutes to get, and he was struggling. You could see his arms shaking, his body just vibrating. And he was sweating. And there was this pool of sweat underneath him. You can imagine how much effort. And he did a push-up. At 9 and 10 years old, he was doing hundreds and hundreds of push-ups a day. One of his greatest achievements was he did 1,000 push-ups in one day. And they continued that whole cycle with the therapist. And you know, when little Johnny was crying, and they had to put these braces on his legs at night to stretch everything out. They would put a brace here on his spine to stretch him into the right direction. It wasn't a scoliosis brace that keeps you comfortable. This thing pushed him into the right direction. They had to tighten the straps, and it hurt. And when he would cry, and he said, "Mom and Dad, do I have to wear the braces tonight?" And the parents gave tough love, and they said, "Yes, we have to wear these things." And even though when he was crying, when it hurt so bad. At 15, 16 years old, this kid was, you couldn't tell he ever had cerebral palsy. 18 years old, he walked across that stage, got his diploma, had a little bit of a limp, graduated with honors. So the way that his body was developing came straight from his brain through his spinal column. And little Johnny Lopchik had a terrific career in real estate. To my knowledge, he's still working. Never had a disability diagnosis. Got a full life insurance policy. I tell you that to give you some real hope. Your body does not know how to quit. And here we are, we're sort of at the end of the year in 2017. And I like to think of it as Christmas season, you know, the holiday season with Thanksgiving and New Year's, while the world is telling us to call it the flu season. And here's your flu shot, here's your drugs, and here's this and that. Listen, if you're going through the flu, I mean, and you've never been sick, I mean, this is something that you want to avoid. Let that motivate you to get in here and get adjusted. Your immune system is totally run by your brain. You get an adjustment, think of the power shot that gives to your immune system to kick the flu's butt. So we call it the flu adjustment. Although really I don't have a specific flu adjustment. It's an adjustment allowing your body to express itself at 100%. If you've been diagnosed with a disease, if you're taking a drug, you get pressure off your spine so your brain can get to your body. In principle, what is going to happen to your body? So many of you are out there, and the point of this video is to really stimulate you and motivate you. Really, you have to motivate yourself. So whether it's fear motivation or if it's an emotional, like a heart-tugging moment like that dad with the flowers and his daughter, or you know, it's fear of getting a disease, we need to be motivated. And Zig Ziglar always said motivation is not permanent, but neither is bathing. That's why you do it regularly. That's why we brush our teeth regularly. You need to get motivated regularly. This is a challenge that so you know, we tell people how to eat and everything and get here for your adjustments, and that all makes sense. But this brain thing, for some reason, people have a really hard time understanding this. So I'm going to say it again if you haven't heard me say this. You need to be pouring into your brain good stuff every single day. In my world, that centers right around Jesus Christ. All the great stuff he did 2,000 years ago. I mean, the people are still talking about it, writing about it, studying it, loving it. Read about him. If you're not a Christian, I still love you. It's okay. Put in positive stuff. You know, watch motivating, positive videos. Turn off the news. Don't read the newspaper. Good gosh, do y'all understand that the media is sold based purely on bad news? Because they know that emotion, something about it is addictive. And where I come from, that is the devil. He knows that if he can get you thinking negative thoughts and poor thoughts, you'll keep doing it because it's this addictive thing. Turn all that off. Feed your brain good stuff every single morning. And now with technology, you've got YouTube. Man, plug in an inspirational video on YouTube and see how many thousands of videos pop up, and you pick one. I mean, you got Jim Rome back in the day. You got Zig Ziglar. You've got Nightingale. You know what? I can't remember his first name right now, but you've got all these great speakers, and you've got a bunch of them today, and you'll get compilations of these things. Just start feeding your brain. That's an easy one. I mean, while you're driving down the road in the car, you could plug this into your headset. If you're a reader, pull out some books. There's a great one I like to always go back to called 7 Men by Eric Metaxas. And the reason I continually pull that one up is because it's 7 different guys, and I'm a guy. And he has a new one out. I think it's called 7 Women. I haven't read that one yet. But if you're a woman and you want that type of motivation, it's little biographies of these people that did great, huge things. And you'll stay motivated. One thing about being motivated, it's not just about disease, is it? We talk about that here a lot because people come in here sick all the time. How about dreaming something huge? Once you start motivating yourself, there's this natural phenomenon that goes in your brain. It unlocks this potential in your subconscious, your reticular activating system. And all these thoughts and dreams that we had as kids, all these grand ideas that we had as children that get squashed by society start pouring out. And last week when I read that story of the dad giving his daughter flowers and all that, when I got all emotional, I was thoroughly motivated. It was amazing. I started having these recurring thoughts that I had a long time ago about what to do with this office, what to do with this space, how can we make it bigger and better for everybody involved, and all this. I was like, oh yeah, man, I forgot all about that. I mean, we need to really start pushing for that. So you'll unlock some of these dreams that have been driven down. You talk about joy, oh my gosh, turn off the negativity. Feed yourself really good, inspiring things every morning so that you are motivated. Let fear motivate you. Look into your eyes. If you need to change your lifestyle, I hear it all the time, Dr. Brian, I'm trying to change what I'm eating, but I'm still struggling with it. Look into your eyes, see what scares you. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples on how to scare yourself. Don't let me scare you. Remember, motivation comes from within. Scare yourself out of the mess that you're in, and then start adding the positive thoughts also. Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, bladder incontinence, impotence, stomach problems, whatever, all is preventable. Your body is not programmed to get sick. What you are doing right now determines your genetic expression, the way that your body will behave tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Don't let that depress you. If you've been misbehaving for 40 years, that is not the point. Thank God for grace. Start today by motivating yourself. It will change. Listen, when we first started doing this, my wife and I, when we first met 12 years ago, 06, so where are we? 17, so 11 years ago. 12 years ago was our first date. I was eating a certain way. It wasn't nearly as good as I am today, and I started motivating myself this way. And I used her as motivation. I used the future, the health of my body as motivation. And today I eat way, way better than I did 12 years ago. And you will too. I exercise way, way better, more efficiently. I manage my time way, way better than I did 12 years ago. And you will too. But it starts with a single action today. Start motivating yourself. Pour it into your brain. And, check back in 6 months to see how you're doing. Look back in 5 years to see how you're doing. As long as you keep it up every single day, then you won't have a choice. Your body won't have a choice. Your mind is so powerful. You have this powerful body in there. You start unlocking that, and you won't have a choice but to grow your body somewhere. You'll grow in the area of finances, in relationships, in the health of your body. But you've got to unlock that brain. This is Dr. Hoon signing off with, by far, the most important thing you can do for your health is unlock that brain. Believe in yourself. You've got cancer? Okay, that doesn't mean that you were designed to have it. You've been told it's genetic? That doesn't mean that is the truth. Just because someone said it doesn't mean it's the truth. If genes really determined our health, none of us would be alive. If it was only about the bugs and the viruses and the bacteria out there, then none of us would be alive. There is something in you that regulates and determines how healthy and how strong you're going to be. And that something is inside of your brain and spinal cord. It's in your nervous system. It's even deeper than that, really. I know it comes from God. God put it in there. Your brain and that spinal cord house all that potential. You start taking care of it. Start inputting really good stuff every single morning, all throughout the day. Turn off the negativity and watch your body respond. This is Dr. Hooten signing off. Love you guys. Have a great rest of the year, and we will talk to you next time.